6.1. Individual Board of Trustees reports, that's it. ASB goals.
This is where each board member speaks,
Okay.
like you used to do at the end of the meeting,
Are we gonna do that again?
every board meeting.
Okay. All right. Individual Board of Trustees reports. Jennifer,
Oh, I win.
you're up.
Thank
You're up to
you.
bat.
Okay, speaking of bats, my husband and I recently started coaching my son's Little League team, sports ball. No need to clap. It's okay. We just add another thing to the list of things to do. Very excited about the SAC grand reopening. I will be there at 3 o'clock on Friday. Pencil me in. And I regrettably wasn't able to make it to the 9/11 Patriots Day. I had transportation issues with my son getting to school, so I do apologize. I was there in spirit, and I'm very proud to be a part of VVC. Thank you.
Sharon?
We're looking forward to going to the grand opening Friday.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Whoa, rude.
Hey, throw that heckler out.
Yeah.
Now can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Man, I can imagine that conversation at home.
Yeah.
Don't want to be there, actually.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, so we're going to go to the thing on Friday, the grand opening, and then on Sunday, we went to put the flags in the ground and had a really nice time with all the students there. And then we went to the 9/11, and I want to thank ASB and Robert for not letting us forget.
Mhm.
Yeah. Brandon?
I'm going to go with good evening, and I have nothing else to report out on.
That's good. Joe?
Do I win?
You do win
What do I win?
an early board meeting.
Got a little bit of good news. I keep in contact with Dr. Wagner, and I asked him if I could read this for those that care. I know that everybody that knows him does care. He recently said, I've been getting chemo every 2 to 3 weeks since the cancer returned. The cancer has almost been undetectable for the past 8 months.
Oh, wow.
I had a
Nice.
PET scan 2 weeks ago, and it shows the cancer is beginning to grow again.
Oh.
I have an ultrasound endoscopy scheduled for next week, so they can get a biopsy from the area it's growing. The doctor says he will likely add immunotherapy, I didn't get that right, to my current chemotherapy and trip to Kansas University, I think it's KU Medical Center's Cancer Research, for evaluation to participate in a research treatment. I feel good and pain is effectively controlled with medication. All in all, I'm faring well for someone that's 19 months into a 9-month prognosis. I don't know when I'll be back. My son accepted a position in Henderson, Nevada as an economic development officer, so he is no longer in California. We plan to travel to Henderson in November, and we'll try to take a day trip or two to visit California, so, for all. I was out, Barstow College does a reverse raffle once a year. It's a barbecue. It's kind of fun. There's about $10,000 at stake. And this year there were 2 board members there, and I know that we're trying to do a joint board meeting, and both of those board members asked me why it got canceled. And we both talked for probably 20 minutes each, bragging about what each college is doing. So I assured them, as incoming president in December, that we would have 2 of them next year. I know they were disappointed, I was disappointed, and they felt that we do have a lot of things to talk about. So other than that, it was fun, and I think everybody had fun, so.
Student
Yes.
trustee?
I wanted to start by thanking the community, nursing students, RT students, and my ASB council for setting up flags for the 9/11 ceremony. And then I wanted to thank Trustee Pinkerton, Dr. Walden, BBC's 60th Fire Academy, nursing faculty, ASB, for the 9/11 ceremony, and especially Advisor Sewell and Mentor Isbell. It was a great event. Thank you.
Okay, looks like I'm left. I'd like to take this opportunity to say it's good to be here. Good to see you. And hope I see you next month. And that's it. I got nothing else to say.
You're not planning on going anywhere, are you?
I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, just check.
Why would I go somewhere? Come on. I don't think I've ever missed a board meeting, maybe one or two in all the years I've been here.
Okay, looks like we're ready for my report.
Yeah.
So
Your report?
ASB goals,
Yes.
Yes, I do have updates. So this past Thursday on September 7th, I and a few other council members attended the Academic Senate to respectfully request more faculty. It is one of our goals. And this Friday, we'll be addressing another one of our goals that I would love to share with you in the future. Thank
In
you.
the future.
In the next meeting. How about that? Let's go
Don't
through
put
it
too much
first.
on the plate with that, right?
Let me go through this Friday first.
Good.
But
Proud of you.
so,
Thank you.
thank you. So unless the board has a question, we don't have a facilities update tonight. So our next person would be
Foundation.
Kirsten, Foundation.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Part of our mission here at this foundation is to provide campus grants through our philanthropic efforts and our donor stewardship. So I want to share a video. We awarded our second grant annually, and I have a video together on the recipients and what they were awarded for.
Love it.
Hold that video for me. So we typically give away anywhere between 25 and 30,000 each time. And I really appreciate the participation we have from our campus constituencies. They're fully engaged from all levels, and they put their applications in. So that's why we're raising the funds. So I'm really happy that they participate and allow us to do that.
Thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Well, this last spring, we had one of our great counselor faculty, Jacqueline Stockey, who took a sabbatical. And as per the board policy, she's going to come and give a short presentation of her work tonight and tell us what she learned on this semester off.
All right, would you guys like your reports now? What do you think? Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. So it's a little lengthy. I like to think I'm a good writer. I have a lot to say. So I hope you get to
Thank you.
read that all the way through. Good evening, and thanks for having me. My name is Dr. Jacqueline Stalkey, and I'm here to present my 2023 spring sabbatical. Just a quick introduction. I started here at Victor Valley College in 2013 and became full-time in 2015. Notable contributions in athletics include starting the first Student Athlete of the Week award in 2022. I started the Student Athlete Graduation and Transfer Celebration in 2018. I developed the state's first non-credit athletics course across all 116 California community colleges, and I developed the first athletic certificate in Region 9. The original sabbatical proposal was to gain perspective and experiences on dual enrollment and if it can help create a better student-athlete experience. I did an exhaustive literature review, and what I found, or what this research suggests, is that college athletic programs create a sense of belonging on community college campuses. And also, in terms of student recruitment, student or athletic programs serve as a front porch for many institutions. However, student athletes do face additional barriers compared to their non-student athlete peers, including often putting their athletic pursuits over their academic obligations. In looking at the archival data, I found that since 2015, VVC has served over 1,200 student athletes participating in one of our 14 sports, and each year we average about 300 student athletes. During my sabbatical, I gathered 3 data sets, and this is pretty exhaustive, and the report goes over my findings. However, there's some, do I have a laser with this, Tim? How do I do it? Oh, perfect. All right, this is awesome. So what we're going to be looking at is student athlete status and DE status. So if you look at the first row here, student athlete status at VVC while in taking dual enrollment courses in high school, there was 75 student athletes, and their overall GPA was a 2.75. Now, if we compare that to student athlete status, no, at VVC, but they were dual enrolled, there's 6,959. So there's a significant difference with student athletes taking dual enrollment courses while in high school. I further disaggregated the data, and I wanted to look at Black or African American student athletes, female or male. So athlete status, yes. DE status, yes, meaning they are a current VVC student athlete and took dual enrollment courses. There was only 9. However, their overall GPA was a 2.39. If we compare this to non-student athlete and did not take DE courses, 5,626, and their overall GPA was 1.72. The second data set was a open-ended survey with 2 mid-year graduates from Victor Valley College. And the next data set was an open-ended interview with an experienced high school counselor who specializes in NCAA and dual enrollment. Based off the data, recommendations include developing a cohort system for high school student athletes taking DE coursework, to communicate and educate student athletes' sphere of influence about dual enrollment, and create a peer-to-peer mentor program specific to student athletes. However, during my sabbatical, I wanted to look over and beyond athletics, and I really wanted to answer the question, in what ways can VVC integrate a guided pathways framework into local high schools? So what I created here is a visual map or representation of a potential high school adopting guided pathways in high school from freshman to senior year. I'm waiting for this. I'm pointing at Tim. Oh, hold on. My apologies. Okay. So if you notice here, freshman year, it's really a focus on career and college readiness. What I found is one of the mid-year graduates at Victor Valley College only graduated with an associate's degree and not an ADT because there was uncertainty about one's career and major. Therefore, freshman year, focusing on career readiness, they would obtain a college readiness certificate. Sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, they would continue to take courses. And it is our goal by senior year that they would graduate high school, earn 40 plus college units, and obtain their IGETC certification. These efforts really align with the EMP District 1 goals, which include increasing transfer and graduation rates, provide a gateway to career, and the chance to increase our transfer rates above statewide statistics. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity for me to go on sabbatical. I learned not only a lot about the dual enrollment practices here in the high desert, but student athletes, and I learned a lot about myself in the process. I open this time to any questions about the sabbatical findings.
Looks like you did a great job.
Thank you.
Are those stats, is there a way, that PowerPoint, the PowerPoint isn't here?
Yeah, whatever on the PowerPoint is discussed thoroughly in the report.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. No other questions? Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's good to have you back.
Thanks.
Now I believe we are ready for the final budget, 23-24 final budget presentation.
Not for you.
Okay, it's final budget time, September. Last Thursday, we had a town hall with the constituents on campus. I think there were 70-some members attended. This PowerPoint's similar to that. Okay, great. Okay, next slide. I talked a little bit about this earlier, about the economic update that's been coming out of Sacramento. Go ahead and kind of scroll through it, Tim. There's not a lot of real substantive information coming out of Sacramento. I don't know why, but they talk about the fact that incomes aren't keeping up with inflation. That's an issue with the economy. The housing market's constrained. They don't talk a lot about the $32 billion deficit that they just had to close in the 23-24 year, or the $95 billion surplus that they had last year. So I don't know why we haven't heard. We normally hear a lot of input about the economy, where it's going, where people are predicting it's going to be next year. There was some talk about multiple deficit years. It's been pretty quiet statewide, so really don't know what's going to happen. So I don't have a lot to say about what the economic update is going to be for next year, but we'll work with what we've got so far. Next slide, Tim, please. So this is the revenue recap for 22-23, the year that just ended June 30th. So you can see the swings in our apportionment. So at advanced apportionment, when it usually comes out in July, our 22-23 total computational revenue using the funding formula was $86 million. So when we got to first principal apportionment, which comes in January, February, that number had changed to $78,308,504. And we get the second principal apportionment, what happens about April. We're down to $77,847,543. So that's the kind of the valleys and the mountains that we climb and the valleys that we drop down into. So by second principal apportionment, due to a lot to thinking about their $32 billion deficit for 23-24, they started some transfers between years. So when we got to second principal, the available revenue for 22-23 dropped to 69.4 million. So that was a deficit of 8.4 million. And that had to do with the fact that they lowered the scheduled maintenance allocation. And you'll see that later in the presentation. So the budget, the K-12 system has an automatic backfill if there's a deficit in the budget, the K-12 system. Community college system does not. So right after the budget was signed, they had a trailer bill in July that passed the backfill. So that 8.4 million will get to us in September, October. So that's basically a receivable for that deficit. So you'll see in the revenue numbers that $8 million basically is a receivable in the 22-23 year. The next slide is basically where we show that number. Oh, go back one slide, right? That $77 million number is our TCR. And that, if you go back, that's the same number that we show you here in second principal apportionment. So just to be transparent, we're not making these numbers up. There's no fancy formula. We get them from the state. So the next slide. So our unaudited actuals, the TCR of 77.8 million. We're estimating 1.7 million in growth. And that calculation is based on, there's $26 million of growth money, just 1/2 of 1% growth in the system budget for 22-23. At the P2 census, which is basically the May, June, July era, there was about $10 million of that used, or basically called for in everybody's apportionment at that point. We had turned in a number of like 99.65 for our FTS, which was an increase of about 300 FTS. But at annual, in June, we turned in 10,576. So on a phone call to the Chancellor's office about what kind of growth is going to be available in 22-23, they indicated there were only about 6 districts through P2 that had grown past their COVID numbers and were eligible for growth funding. And there was about $10 million used out of the 26. So using a conservative estimate, I recommended that we put 1.7 million in growth revenue. So that created, we ended the year with a surplus of 18.4 million. The ending fund balance, when you add the surplus to the previous year, is 40.3 million, 45.1%. A lot of that is due, basically. Next slide, Tim. 2, we had anticipated in the expenditure side that we would have settled with our bargaining units and paid retros. And so that didn't happen. So we had basically almost $13 million in savings from our expenditure side of the budget. We had increased revenue of about $5 million. So that's where that big $18 million surplus comes in 22-23. Next slide. So now we're moved to year 23-24, the adopted budget for the state. And we'll look at it from the state system perspective first. So next slide. So the state SCIF number for the whole system was $9.4 billion. It has a deficit factor of 2.09%, which is about $198 million. It funded a COLA at 8.22% for general apportionments and most categoricals. Growth funding, again, 1/2 of 1%, $26.4 million in growth on a $9.4 billion budget. Not a lot of growth money out there. So adjustments to our prior year funding, the state reduced deferred maintenance by $452 million. It reduced enrollment and retention program by 55. But they are allowing some flexibility for us to use deferred maintenance, enrollment growth, and the remaining COVID-19 state funds. They're giving us some flexibility. We can use all three of those funding sources in any of the three categories. So we are putting a plan together for those funds right now. So I'll be arm wrestling Todd. His arms are a lot bigger than mine, but I'm going to poke him in the eye or something. But so we'll be wrestling for those funds for deferred maintenance, and then we've got some COVID issues that we need to fund through the current year. So the next couple slides will show you really the appropriations for VVC categorical programs. So retention enrollments, that's 1.2 million. That's SIA, Student Equity and Achievement, 4.2. Student Success Completion Grant is part of the SCIF funding, it's 2 million. So there's two new programs that we're going to be participating in as a settlement with our part-time faculty. We're going to start providing reimbursement up to 50% for healthcare programs for our part-time faculty. And we've increased our participation in the office hours program. Both of those programs are reimbursable from the state by about 50%. EOPS gets 2.5, CARES 351,000, DSPS right at about $1 million. Lots of categoricals. State loves categoricals. College Promise 442, Adult Ed 2.6 million, Basic Needs 425, Mental Health 285, Next Up $1 million, Student Housing Program 700,000, CalWorks 786. So now some general assumptions for our general fund. We will maintain legal compliance, 50% law. We'll develop a budget with a 6.7% ending fund balance minimum, and that's in the new board revised policy 6200 in compliance with the state's recommendations. The program review, planning, and budget development process will guide the allocation of resources. Vacancies due to retirement or resignation will not automatically be filled. Typically, all of our requests for classified management recruitments will go to the cabinet for discussion. The faculty have their process that they recommend faculty hiring. So nothing just gets an automatic backfill or new personnel. So it goes through a process. So based on what we've got, information from the state, we've prepared an operating budget. So revenue assumptions, there's only a couple. There is an 8.22 COLA built into the budget for general apportionments and categoricals. And we have assumed no growth funding, even though at the cabinet level, we're talking about right now quite a bit of growth. Now the state rules right now, they will only fund up to 10% growth. And right now we're over 10% in the fall and projected to be even more in the spring. So if we do get funded for growth, we could get funded for about 1,000 FTEs. It could be about $5.5 million if the growth funds are available. Now, in my discussions with the state, they are trying to basically demonstrate to the state legislature, the governor, and the Department of Finance that they want growth funded. So when I talk to them about the fact that we're in a position where we may not be able to, we would have unfunded growth, should we pull back on offering classes, and they're encouraging us, and no, don't do that. We want to be able to report to the state that we need growth funds, and we want to report as much growth system-wide as we can. So at Cabinet, we've talked about keeping things, as John Pinkerton said, keep the pedal to the metal. And in the future, our funding is going to be basically on a floor in 24-25. So right now, we're pushing as hard as we can push to generate FTS and maximize our revenue. And then at 24, 25, that becomes our funding base, our floor. And and the years after that, if you don't grow, you don't get funded for growth, but if you decline, you don't lose revenue. So,
The way that works too, if you are declining afterward, that means you don't get any of the COLAs or anything that comes. The only way you get a COLA or an increase is actually you have to grow into it, or you have to meet that minimum base that they set in 24, 25 in your skip formula. So you can continue to grow and you can continue to get COLA if you're going above, but that becomes a floor though. So for colleges that are in decline, which hopefully never will be Victor Valley, they would still be funded at that minimum level. But there is a penalty for that. You don't get COLA and that other kind of thing if you're declining.
So let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do
Let's not do that.
next slide, please. So now the assumptions on the expense side. PERS again increased their rate 1.31% to 26.68%. So that means that every classified member in the PERS program, the district pays 26.68% of their gross salary into PERS. And PERS has a appointed board, and so they've pretty much keep increasing as inflation goes up and their unfunded liability grows. The state teachers' retirement system remained at 19.1. That rate is set by the legislature. The budget has a 1% contingency included in the adopted budget for the president's contingency. There's nothing budgeted in the augmentation funds at this time. A lot of it comes from the president's contingency or programs like instructional equipment and other categoricals. So those come through the praise process, and then it goes through the budget committee and finally to the president for a recommendation. And we are assuming that the district and the bargaining units will settle contract negotiations and substantial payments of retro pay will go out this fiscal year. Okay, so a few cautions and concerns. Our number one is the unfunded growth. It costs money to put classes up, and if you don't get paid for them, there is a loss. It's of some amount. Continued inflationary pressure, increased benefit rates, and potentially future state budget deficits. So those are some of the cautions and concerns going forward. Okay, so here's our 3-year look at the prior years, the current year, and the next budget year. So if you can see, we've got, go back. So this column here is our projected actuals for last year. You can see the revenue is 89 million. Expenditure lines were 70. That's that $18 million surplus. Created that $40 million fund balance at 45.1%. That number rolls up to next year's beginning balance. There's an 8.22% COLA. Revenues expected at 90. I better get my glasses on. So the revenues, go back. Thank you, Tim. 96,833,515 for next year. Then you see our expenses. They're projected at 105,894,000. That's a $9 million deficit. So our fund balance reserve goes to 31 million, 32%. The next year, 24-25, we just have always kind of used a 2% COLA as a benchmark. Revenue goes to 90 to 99 million. Expense at 99. We're going to have a balanced budget in 24-25, and our fund balance reserve is at 31.4%. Of course, this is just a plan, so don't hold me and Marie to totally accountable for all the numbers, but I did look at some of the previous numbers from the previous general fund budget, and we've had a pretty good track record. Next slide, please. So here's our enrollments from 16, 17. You can see go 94, 96, down to 92 in 18, 19, up to 96, 35. Then COVID hit. We dropped to 78, 76. Oh, did I do that, Tim? And then 82, 85, and 21, 22. And our annual is 10,576. And there's one more submittal in October if we come up with a few more FTS. And then we'll find out in February basically where we're funded. Next slide is a budget. These are all of our funds. We've got the unrestricted, general fund, the bond interest and redemption fund. Those are funds that are taxes collected for the bond program, paid out by the county. We created the new cafeteria fund for the Rams Cafe as a $958,000 budget. Has everybody been in the Rams Cafe yet? No? No? Yes? Yes. Very, much better than Chow Time. I actually had a hamburger today.
Chow time.
So we got the special revenue fund, which is the GIC. It shows here as a $16.6 million balance. Because of all the borrowing that we're doing with the GIC interest and all that, the actual really GIC interest balance is about 22 million. But for some accounting reasons, we do twos and do fronts to move to these different funds. The bond fund activities. That's basically the activity on the stadium project. Capital outlay funds are some of our other capital projects. Child Development Fund is the Child Development Center. Student Center fee, I think that's Robert's piggy bank. Health.
Really?
Health Trust Fund, that's been a fund that's had a balance for years. Art's supposed to get us a new health center set up, so those any funds collected will go in there, and expenditures related to a new health center, which I believe is one of Jennifer Weiss's goals.
How much was in Robert's slush fund again?
No, I was just
No,
teasing.
he's on his laptop trying to open up a bank account.
No, that's the Student Center fee fund that the students control, and he's
It's a prank.
Cayman Islands.
He's their advisor. Self-insurance fund is a fund that we use to pay some of our insurance claims. We've ran the cost of the new gym floor through there, and we'll be reimbursed by the JPA for most of those costs. Auxiliary Services Fund, Rams Bookstore, Associated Students. Then there's our two trust accounts, one for the pension and one for OPEB, 6 million and 14.3. So beginning of the year, we have 126.6 million, revenue of 245, expense of 261, estimated fund balance next year at 110 million, all of the funds. Next slide, please. Oh, that's a good one.
Skip.
Is there any way to blow that one up?
Just skip.
These are all of our projects. I started putting this in the budget a couple of years ago. It basically shows the capital projects, which we're going to finish the stadium. We've got a potential of some site acquisition. I think with the president, we talked about doing another bond issue. We'll probably come to the next board meeting to sell some more bonds. So site acquisitions would be sites in Hesperia, potentially at SCLA. And then if we got any money left, when the contractor's done, I want to do the pickleball courts where he's basically got his
Baseball
trailer.
diamonds.
Baseball, I think we came up with a plan to do some baseball improvements in the stadium project, which we'll be bringing to the board in the next month or two for
I mean, the more you drive by and you take a look at this new stadium, it just looks,
Right. Well, we have a price to basically put in a new irrigation system and all brand-new sod in the baseball field.
Nice.
So we'll probably be bringing that maybe next month, once this contractor gets us the final numbers. But if you'll see here, these are our scheduled maintenance projects. We had about 3.3 million in 21-22. We did have 9 million in 22-23. That now is 3.6 million. So we had 32 projects lined up out of that 9 million, and we've got to reprioritize them all and resubmit them to the state next month. So all the 32 projects, we've done a lot of work, but with the remaining funds, we'll have to resubmit new project proposals for those.
do you see them taking money away with the deficit?
Well, they already took 5.2 million away from us. So, I mean, this has really been the program that is always last on the list. It's really needed for our facilities, and it's the easiest to cut because it doesn't affect staff and layoffs and that kind of thing. But it's really been great to have this kind of money. You see the improvements every day, and the facilities and the M&O departments are just, I mean, they're moving fast. So, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to spend the money. Okay, I think questions is next.
Looks
No
good.
questions?
Yeah, looks good.
Go quick. Go
Walk away quick. Quicker
Okay,
than
now
that.
I'm a little long-winded, but thank you very much.
That was riveting.
The last item I have, I just want to mention that this coming Friday is an exciting day because we have a grand reopening of our Technology Center Building 21. It's open to all VVC students, the community, the board, everyone. Because in this building, we house our tutoring and academic support centers and labs, and our 4 student engagement centers, and our math center, and our writing center, and just a whole lot of wonderful things. We've spent, I don't know, probably a couple of $1 million plus in that building, new carpet, new furnishings, and this engagement center, I believe, is going to make a difference in pushing us over the top and qualifying to be an Aspen College, because we're going to case manage students that have the greatest need and the greatest help and provide them wraparound support. So this will be from 3 to 4 p.m. And Robert went out today and got a really good deal on some eats. Really great deal, and stayed within his budget. And and so we're going to have a great time this Friday. So if you can come by from 3 to 4, that'll be great. That's not me singing.
Wow.
All right. That concludes the president's report.
8.0, reports, 3 minutes per report. Purpose of these reports is to inform the board regarding issues pertaining to those constituencies. Academic Senate,
Not here.
part-time, AFT,
Not here.
ASB.
I'll start with our Club Rush, which is going to be September 12th through 13th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Everyone is invited. The ATC ribbon cutting, September 15th at 3 p.m. On September 28th, there's going to be the Hispanic Heritage Tribute Award. On October 6th, ASB will be hosting the Hispanic Heritage Month event from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, everyone is invited. Same with October 13th, we will be hosting an Indigenous Peoples Day from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I believe, Tim, you're going to be playing a video from 9/11.
Can you see by the dawn's early
if you're old enough, you can remember where you were and how you heard about the attack on this country on September 11, 2001.
And bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare.
This is a country that we're proud to be part of, a country that we love. But there are people that, a whole generation now that's been born that wasn't even alive in 2001.
That our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Again, I just wanted to thank everyone who attended and participated in our 9/11 ceremony and the setup. It was a wonderful event. I did want to correct myself. I said September 12th through 13th for Club Rush. It's actually September 13th through 14th. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. CSEA?
Good evening. As you know, we are now starting the third week of the semester. The beginning of the semester is always an extra busy time for all of us, and classified staff all over campus have been working hard to support the students, not only during the week, but also on the weekends. I'm sure there are others, but I've specifically heard the staff and student services departments and the IT help desk have worked overtime several Saturdays to make sure the students are supported. Classified staff are essential here at VVC, and without them, students, faculty, and management would not get the support they need. The grounds wouldn't look as nice as they do, the buildings wouldn't be cleaned and maintained like they are, and the campus wouldn't be safe. So basically, VVC would not function efficiently without classified staff. So I just wanted to take a moment to point out and acknowledge all classified staff and thank them for all they do every day here at VVC. With that being said, later tonight you will be asked to approve the CSEA contract and classification study, which will include the salary and the retro pay that classified staff have been waiting 2 years for. We would definitely appreciate your approval on these items. Thank you.
CTA?
Not here.
Not here. Management? Here?
I guess not tonight.
Guess not, huh? Wow. That's a first. Okay, so now we go down to public comments, announcement related to consent agenda items. Consent agenda items.
Motion?
Complete. What?
Motion?
Motion, okay, motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can't have discussion.
on that.
Wood
All in favor?
and Brady was the
This
second.
is with the corrections we made, where we deleted and corrected.
Yes, I need to have that, was Wood and Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, give me 1 second and I'll open the Wood.
We'll go to student.
Okay.
Well, for this item, it was just the deleted. The corrected is under area 13. Deleting 9.21.
So now we got a, okay.
Student trustee vote is yes.
Student advisory is yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. You said, can we skip to the good part?
Action agenda. Public comments related to action agenda, any? No? Okay. 11.1. Separate approval of items pulled from consent agenda. Resolution 2320, National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion?
Well, we should probably.
Should probably read
Definitely
it.
read it.
Let's read it.
Brandon, would you like to read that?
Okay. Who wants to read?
Jen said she wanted to read it.
Okay, Jennifer. Go for it.
You guys all heard that yeah.
I thought I heard you say
I'll
that.
second that motion.
Jen was like, pick me.
On the motion of Member Wood, seconded by Member Brady, the following resolution is hereby adopted. Whereas in 1968, Congress authorized President Lyndon B. Johnson to proclaim a week in September as National Hispanic Heritage Week, and in 1988, this celebration was expanded to National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th through October 15th of each year. And whereas during this time, America celebrates the culture, traditions, and achievements of United States residents who trace their roots to Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South Americas. And whereas Hispanic and Latinx Americans have contributed in countless ways to the history and building of this nation, their histories and culture stretching across centuries. And whereas Hispanic and Latinx Americans have made extraordinary past contributions and continue to contribute to our community, state, nation, and world, including advances in education, medicine, art, culture, public service, economics, military, human rights, and politics. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Victor Valley Community College District's Board of Trustees recognizes, supports, and honors Hispanic Heritage Month and the achievements of the VVC's Hispanic and Latinx students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members, and respectfully encourages all citizens to explore the rich and significant heritage of these members of our community, passed and adopted by the governing board today.
Today.
I mean, who's going to say no?
Student advisory.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a yes.
Student trustee vote?
She said yes.
Okay, now we have selection of governing board members as voting delegate and alternate ACCT Leadership Congress.
Motion?
Second.
Oh,
So you can ignore this resolution if none of you are going. It's on October the 10th, and it's in Las Vegas. If one of you at least wants to go or more, then you need to select, you can select the voting
Oh.
delegate.
I'm going to check my schedule because I have to take vacation time.
So then if it's an
Gabby,
iffy,
I'm going to check my schedule.
so then if it's an if thing, then you probably want to select the delegate tonight.
Okay.
So you need to nominate someone and select them.
Are you
Make it
going,
easy.
Jennifer?
Does somebody want to go? I'm not going to go.
Jen,
I just need to
You're going?
double check my schedule at work.
Okay.
anybody?
So So what goes on at this Congress and what are you gonna be able to report on when you come back? I mean, what is this?
The ACCT conference is the same one that you guys all went to.
In
Me down to,
Mission
Dana
Bay?
Point.
No, Dana Point, I don't know, one of those
When we
beaches.
went to Dana Point, that was a
Yeah.
national conference. This is the national conference, and this year it's in Vegas. That year it was in Dana Point.
Oh, it's CCLC.
No,
Did any
that
of
was
us vote
CC,
last year?
ACCT.
ACCT.
Yeah, we didn't vote last time.
So this year it's gonna be in
Did
Vegas.
you say you're gonna look?
Didn't we go to Dana Point?
So you have two maybes, so you could appoint one of them
Who's the other
as the
maybe?
delegate, Sharon, and then
Nominate her
the
as
other one as an
tribute.
alternate.
Okay. Let's
Just
appoint.
Nominate somebody.
All in favor of nominating Jennifer as the delegate?
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
October 10th.
It's the perfect time of the year.
Yeah, it's a good time to go.
The 10th and 11th of October.
Well, the motion should say, and the alternate.
Alternate, I'll say alternate.
With
Can we,
Sharon.
can we do, I don't know that we can
Sure.
do an alternate, can we?
Yes, you can,
You can add that.
you're asked to do a
Nominate
delegate
Sharon.
and an alternate in case that delegate, he can't do it.
Oh,
Did we vote in Dana Point?
Yeah.
I don't know if you did.
I
or
don't
not,
remember going and
I
voting.
nominated you.
But that was an ACCT conference, so just so you know,
Yeah,
I presented that.
you should,
And,
you should look at Sharon.
Sharon as
Sharon.
alternate. All in
Other way
favor?
around, flip
Other
it,
way.
reverse it.
Aye.
you want the other way
Oh.
around?
It's
Sharon
interesting.
as the delegate and I'll be the alternate.
Interesting.
Yes.
Let them work it out.
Yeah, flip a coin. Any coin.
Okay, you guys got a Rochambeau for it.
Say it again.
I'm not sure yet.
Hey,
This is after the
And
board.
by the way, this is at the time of the board meeting.
best 2 out of 3.
So-
Rochambeau for it.
You would have to miss, well, you would have to miss the board meeting in October
Oh, no.
to go to this conference,
Oh, wow.
which is why I'm not going, because I would have gone. Because it's so close.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So now
So
nobody's
if you're
going?
not wanting to miss, if you don't want to miss the board
I'm
meeting,
not missing
then
our board
we
meeting for
can
this
just
nonsense, no.
vote this down.
Oh.
That's, okay, whatever.
Okay, never mind, just
All right.
kidding.
She's
No.
not going.
You're not going,
No, I'm not gonna miss the board meeting here.
Sharon?
Heck no.
Are you gonna go?
Can we make a motion to go on the next thing?
So she's saying she may go, so go ahead and appoint her as the delegate. If she goes, then
If you go,
she'll
you're
miss the
delegate.
board meeting and she'll be there.
All right, motion.
Second.
Sorry. I didn't realize it was on a Tuesday. They usually do Thursday, Friday.
On a what?
A Tuesday, if we're missing a board meeting, it's on a Tuesday.
Yeah, the day of the meeting that you would actually vote is the Tuesday, the 10th, from 2 to 3:30.
All right, with no alternate, correct?
Correct.
Right.
No, we get
And I
Sharon.
would put that trustee Pinkerton as voting delegate if she is able to attend.
Perfect.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay?
Sharon, yes.
Student advisory?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, so,
You got
right,
one.
you would need to let, so Michelle's going on vacation for a week and a half. So let Gabby know right away, because she has to let them know and all that, so it has to be made brief.
No, we don't need to let Dr. Tarango know so that John has use of the jet.
Something like that.
Oh, yeah. You got
Get you
it.
a pilot.
Won't get very far, John.
Okay. Second read approval, board policy 7120.
Motion?
Second.
Do I have a motion? Second.
Tarpley wood.
Any
Wait.
discussion?
Can we do these all at once or no?
No, because something is getting pulled.
Two of them.
Two
we're gonna
somethings.
discuss.
Can we
Okay.
separate the two and make a motion?
Don't make it too complicated, just carry on.
No,
It'll take just as long to do it because they're
Alright.
pulling two, so it's just easier to do it.
So
So
no,
we
which
can
one?
do all of them except those two.
Yeah, except for two.
Do you know the two?
Second.
Why don't we let Michelle be the deciding vote, because she's the one that actually has to do that?
We got it under control.
So, okay, so this is not one of them,
No,
I believe, right? I
No.
think it's 72, 10, 72.
72,
So
10,
it's
or
first
72,
reads.
50.
Okay, so.
So the question is, do you want to have a motion and a second on all except 7210 and 7250?
Absolutely.
Sure, and you
And
can
then
just
a
do
vote,
that
and then she
motion
can
and
fix
second it.
that,
Can
and
you
then you
do
can
all
debate
that right
those
now?
two.
Or is that gonna take a long time?
Take me a minute,
It'll
Yes,
take her a
motion.
minute.
because there's several of them.
So he's making a
Right, there's a
motion.
lot,
And,
though, it's quicker. Motion.
No,
Like
Second.
Charlie and what already motioned.
we already motioned and
Okay,
seconded.
there we go, we
Yeah.
did.
Okay. So everybody vote on all but 72.
And somebody else motioned as well.
There's a bunch of
Okay.
motions. And now we can take a break because she's gonna do that.
Yeah, student advisory vote?
Yes.
All right, I'll do it.
All right. Break time.
What?
That's what that means when you guys.
Break time?
Well, yeah, because she needs just a minute to compile them all.
She has to
It's-
fix all that.
It's still quicker than doing them one by one when there's, like, what,
Yeah.
14 of them?
14 of them.
16 of them? There's 16 if we did them individually.
She's a great singer. She really is.
We're right in the middle of the vote.
have cookies.
Call to order?
We have cookies. So there's that.
Okay, we had a motion by who?
Tarpley,
Harpley.
second by
Jennifer?
Wood.
But that was just on all but.
All but those,
That was
right?
all
So
of
we
them
just need to
except-
vote for them.
Except for
Correct?
7210 and 7250.
Or did we?
Ready to
Everything's voted on?
do 7210
The
now.
two.
and We have to discuss that. vote on
So we
that.
need a
And then
motion
7210.
on
7210.
11.8? Is that what you want, is a motion?
Motion for 7210?
All motion,
For 7250 and 7210?
10, yeah.
just for 11.8 right now, one at a time.
One at a time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Second?
So before you get started on the discussion on this, I should tell you
Did you get that?
that we presented these to you as revised because there are new laws in California that require this language in, the college has to abide by these policies. So this was brought to a board policy because it's a legally required one. The only reason for, and what the, basically are doing here is when you hire and when you evaluate employees in a community college now, you have to do that based on they're proving that they've qualified in the area of knowledge of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and that they are making progress in that area and living that lifestyle in their work environment. So that's what these resolutions are about, and that's why you have them, because the legislature passed a law that this is the law in California.
Okay. I understand that. Okay. Now, so discussion on 7210. I found it interesting that the state of Texas and the state of Florida, and I believe Iowa too, have all eliminated this language from their colleges. They all eliminated it, and all three of those states. And I looked it up online, and I looked up a article called Why Christianity and Corporate Marxism Cannot Mix by William Wolfe. And he says that this is a Marxist ideology, straight out of Das Kapital. And so.
What is DEI?
DEI. Not
Diversity, equity, and
yeah,
inclusion?
and inclusion, right. And then I looked up another one called Marxism and DEI by, let's see, I didn't get his name, but there's another article. And I looked up two of these articles, and both of them came back with Marxism. So I'm not, I took an oath to uphold the Constitution and the Constitution of the United States. And nowhere in the United States Constitution does it say anything about Marxism. Nowhere in any of them. So I'm not gonna, California can do what they want. They just passed another law, believe this or not, but if you're getting a divorce and you're the parent that wants your child degendered, change gender, then you have a higher probability of getting custody of that kid or your child. They just passed that yesterday. When that, you said yesterday or today?
Yesterday or last week?
Yeah.
Hold on, I can look. I have the update.
So now, if you're getting a divorce, the parent that wants their kid change, their sex change from a boy to a girl, you have a higher probability of getting custody.
Do you think it's the parent that wants that, or?
No, if the parent wants that. Say you got two parents and one wants it, one don't. Well, the parent that wants it gets a higher probability of getting custody.
I mean, I don't think that has really a lot of relevance to
No, it doesn't, but
this.
this is the kind of stuff that they're passing. But I don't know, I'm not going to vote for it. I'm sorry. Because of, it says here, the evaluation of academic employees include tenure review must include consideration of employees demonstrated or progress toward efficiency and diversity, equity and inclusion, and accessibility competencies that enable work with diverse communities. Now, I don't mind working with diverse communities. That's not the point. The point is that this other stuff is in there, that you have to do it. And if you don't do it, it's part of your evaluation now. So I'm not gonna
Per the
vote.
law,
It's state law.
per the state law.
Per the
So
state
we
law.
have to adhere to it
Yeah,
because we're state funded.
right. Well, I'm still not gonna vote for it. So I just wanna say, put in my 2 cents and say no.
AB 957.
Huh?
AB 957.
9:57.
Passed last Wednesday, maybe?
Yeah, Wednesday.
Wednesday or Thursday?
And the same thing for 7250. Same thing, same terminologies. So I'm not gonna vote for either one of them. So I'm turning them down by me. Everybody else, I don't know what the rest of the board wants to do, but
Is that a child being a minor?
Yeah.
they're forcing
I
it
mean,
on
I don't
us.
think that has any relevance to what
No, it
we're
doesn't.
discussing right now. I'm certainly ready
I
to
think we're
vote.
down to the free
It's
anymore.
factually accurate.
So anyway, no on both of those.
You could go ahead and vote on mine,
Okay.
Are we doing
Anybody else?
both or just one at a time?
one at a
Yeah.
time. This will be the first one, 7210,
Okay,
student advisory vote.
all right.
as noted.
Student advisory vote?
Yes.
And now, need the motion on the next
voted.
one.
I did it.
Motion.
I got it.
Second? Circling the world.
Well, I was waiting for the student
Oh.
advisory.
Okay.
Not. Okay, vote.
Thank you.
Now we can pass forward.
I couldn't see the vote.
Me neither.
What was it, 4-1?
Yes,
Both
vote
of them?
on both, yes. That was student advisory vote, yeah. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Now, if you want to vote on the rest of them,
Oh, they did that
Very
already.
good.
we already
We
did.
they lumped
All
them.
right, got it.
Yeah.
So now we're on to 12-1.
Okay. 12-1, foundation donations.
Motion?
Second?
This is to receive $770,823 from the foundation.
Oh,
Student advisory?
Yes.
Good assist, trustee.
It's not up. There it is. It takes a minute.
It does, it's been really slow.
agreement, renewal, computer land. Is that it? Yeah, no, amendment to SAAS agreement, illusion.
Motion?
Second?
Student trustee?
Yes.
You say.
Okay. Agreement renewal.
Wait, we need a vote. Somebody needs to vote.
We did, we voted, didn't we?
No, somebody hasn't yet.
You haven't?
Somebody
voted.
hasn't.
He's voting right now.
I voted.
She wasn't pointing to Joseph W. Weir.
I wasn't pointing at anyone. I just said somebody has voted.
Okay. 13.2, agreement renewal, Computerland, Silicon Valley, Microsoft Campus Agreement 23-24.
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion? Student trustee?
I will point out that this is the Microsoft Suite annual renewal, and this used to be twice as much money. But because the California Futures Foundation has stepped in and made an agreement, we're only having to pay like half. So $65,000 for all the
65.
students, all the employees, everybody.
That's a pretty good deal. Thirteen point three, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee members' extended terms.
Motion?
Any discussion? Student trustee?
Yes.
Thirteen point five. No, let's see here. 13.4, public hearings, resolution 2318, energy services agreement, amendment 1 pursuant to government code 4217.
Okay, first, before you open the resolution, you need to open a public hearing if anybody wants to
That's
comment
on a
from the
public hearing. Does anybody want to come up and talk about it? Public hearings are now open.
Nobody.
Nobody? Closed?
Now you can do the resolution.
All right. Public hearing resolution 2318, Energy Services Agreement, Amendment 1 pursuant to Government Code 4217. Motion?
Motion.
No, it's a resolution. It's a
Okay,
resolution.
so,
It was on,
Motion.
it was a resolution.
Brady.
so prior to the board's discussion, I would like to make the public aware that trustee Brady sent an email to his colleagues this morning on this item. The email is available for the public. Should anyone wish to review or obtain a copy, you can get it from Gabby Calendar over here. Now the board can pursue with its discussion. Proceed.
Okay.
Not pursue.
Pursue.
Proceed.
Does anybody want to go first?
Yeah. You want to speak?
Yeah, this is a sensitive subject that really goes back to.
Oh, excuse me, trustee Brady. Tim, can you get Nate on the phone? And he's just here for all of you trustees if you need him.
Yeah.
He has nothing to say unless you have a question for him. So he's going to Zoom him in, so go ahead. Sorry.
So Kevin Flanagan comes also, he's with Spur, the procurement, JPA that we used to procure the product.
That did all the bidding? That's what you mean by procure?
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Back in December, I believe it was December, John, you could correct me, of 2020, we started a discussion about what I call the repair of the solar field down there. Is that correct? And we hired a vendor for about $800 and some odd thousand to do some repair. And the December meeting, the January and the February meeting were rather challenging discussions amongst the trustees. I asked a lot of questions about, the fact that an education, a group like VVC, we're an educational facility, really didn't know how we were monitoring our utility usage. I was a little taken back. I'm a private sector person. I'm proud to be private sector, so I deal with my own money, so I look at things somewhat a little differently. Those conversations were rather challenging, and thanks to this recent discussion, after our August meeting, I asked Dr. Walden to get some additional information, and while he was gone on vacation, Dr. Todd Scott and John tried to put things together. I did ask for a tour this last Friday night at 5:30, only because I've been traveling for the last 3 weeks. Because personally, I would like to see the solar fields. I felt that after last month's meeting, it's hard for me as a trustee to approve something I can't see, and it's hard for me to approve a contract that's in two parts. So the contract that we're being asked to approve tonight is the second part of a contract, and while we approved the first part of the contract, what, a year ago?
Probably.
August of last year.
I'm one of those old fashioned, I deal with contracts all day long in my
That
business.
was a project to put covered parking with a lot of keep.
And at that time, we all approved it, we thought it was a great idea. And while this still may be a great idea, I wanted to ask some questions, which I think kind of challenge the issue. So for a little bit of background, we initially spent $4.5 million on the initial solar project at the college, and then funded another $3 million, another 1.5. And at the end of the day, getting down to John's second paragraph of this memo without reading the whole thing, total VVC funds spent on solar and other energy projects were $13 million, 10,000. An article in some journal of 2010 reported that we would save approximately $20 million in savings over the next 25 years, including the nearly $4 million in incentive money that we got.
That was a Citizens Bond Oversight
Yeah.
Committee annual report.
Yeah. I didn't know.
Produced by the facilities director at the time.
And John notes, and John, I do appreciate your candor. Quoting you, as we discussed earlier, I don't, and this was after our very contentious December, January, and February meetings. As we discussed earlier, I don't believe that a credible cost-benefit analysis could be accomplished without the hiring of an energy consultant or assigning a fiscal services staff person full-time for a couple of months or more to research all design documents for all the capital outlay projects and energy projects to identify the timelines, costs, and energy estimates. In summary, not knowing that the district has many more solar and energy projects over the last 11 years, it'd be very time-consuming and costly effort to do a credible comprehensive benefit. So at the time, it was suggested that I felt, as a trustee, that we needed somebody to come in and do an independent audit of what do we have. You know, I love projects where, in this particular case, the solar company is giving us the solar, but they're changing the contract. We're upping the price per kilowatt hour, which is still very, very competitive. And if you go through the contract, which that's all we do all day long is look at contracts, there are places on here that really did concern me that I couldn't, as a business person that deals in money or in contracts or in development, understand. I couldn't understand the solar size on page 1, and that is an estimate. That's not a guarantee. And last night, let me back up. On Friday night, because of my traveling and Dr. Walden's traveling, we didn't do our agenda review until Friday night. And I told Dr. Walden I was very concerned about this. And the college smartly had hired somebody that we had recommended a long time ago as an energy consultant out of Southern California. So I asked Dr. Walden, I said, you know, I want to be sure that I'm giving forefront, you know, the right nod on this. Do you have an issue as a trustee if I contacted Marika? And Dr. Walden said no. So Marika had the copy of the same documents that I do. And as we went through them last night, I asked her some questions, and she said, you're asking the right questions. So down at the bottom of the first page, this is an amendment to a contract. So I don't feel good signing an amendment to a contract where I don't have the original contract together. So I would like to sign or approve it when you see both. The way that they did this, and we have 4 law firms that work for us. I've never, in the years that I write the checks in our company, have ever had a law firm have say, you have an agreement over here, but this agreement you signed has deleted that paragraph in the first agreement. And if you don't have the first agreement, how can you know what you're signing? So I was very concerned last month when some of my fellow trustees wanted to approve a contract, but we don't have the contract in front of us, knowing what to do.
Joe, I know you're going, but we have the contract. It's right there,
Okay,
dated October.
It's all there.
We had it in our
October-
email.
October sixth,
You
2022.
have the email,
We
you're
have-
CC'd on the email.
We all have access all the time.
Brandon, you are so much far in front of technology than I am. And unfortunately, I didn't have it. And if I did have it, I wouldn't say that I didn't have it. So, okay. So that,
You had access to it electronically, though.
well,
I thought we sent copies of the whole thing last month to everybody.
not that
Yeah.
contract. We sent we sent the agreements and the memo that I read.
But not the
And
original
last
copies.
month, we didn't even have a board item to approve the contract. All we had was a presentation.
But we sent something ahead of time, I guess it may not have been.
Well, you-
I
Okay.
don't know, but I have it.
I have it.
So getting to the solar size is an estimate, which and now I understand what Mariko's explained to me last night. Because she said, this is what you're generating and this is what you need. So this field will supposedly generate about 76% of what we need. Apparently sometime last month, she came up here, she's doing work for VVC. And she sent one of her guys up to check the solar field. I guess they dress up because of high voltage or whatever. And she said, when they got up here, the solar field's generating, but the monitoring system was disconnected. So the college really didn't know what it's generating, although it's generating power. So that is a concern. On the second page where we have the early termination fees on column 1 and column 2, candidly, I still can't figure that out.
Okay.
I'm in the development business. Top of page 3.
I'm sure Nate could address
There's no,
those.
John, there's no heading up here. It doesn't tell you, it comes from the bottom of the page. They should have just put the two together. Throughout the contract, it talks about starting in 1.16, provider and purchaser. Nowhere in the preamble does it say anything about the word provider. It talks about purchaser. So I didn't have the first contract to go back to take a look and say, who's the provider, but I could see who the purchaser was. So those are some of the concerns I have. I did write an email this morning. I take full responsibility for that email. I couldn't read the aerial here. I tried to blow it up last night. But I do want the board to know that I did offer, because I was traveling, to go down and take a look at the field on Friday night at 5:30. Because I would like to see what the field does. I'd like to understand it. And unfortunately, we just weren't able to schedule it. I made the offer. I never heard back. So those are my personal concerns. And I'm all about saving money.
The article that was in the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, the grand opening of that grand field was May 25th, 2010.
You can read that on there? I can't
Yeah.
read mine.
So my understanding is about 2 or 3 years later, the company that put this system in went bankrupt. San Bernardino Valley College has got the same system. They already tore theirs out. So the report says it's gonna save $20 million in 25 years. If that thing lasted 25 years, we'd be here in 2035 talking about it. It didn't happen. We've spent an average of $60,000 to $80,000 a year taking parts off of broken ones to fix the ones that are operational. So right now, if you go down to that field, half of them are looking to the east, the other half are looking to the west. I mean, they're just,
I went on Thursday.
and this system is designed, each panel has to follow the sun all day long to generate power. Otherwise, if they're just pointing somewhere, there's a couple minutes of the day that they're gonna generate power. So in fact, San Bernardino County, or college called us and said, hey, we're tearing down our system. You guys can come take it out and you can have all the parts you want. Well,
Oh,
we're spending $80,000 a year to Giant Power because they're the only ones with the expertise and the tools to keep these 100 was 122 panels, all tracking the sun all day long. It's really become, it's not cost effective to have that field there. It's supposed to be here till 2035. The business went bankrupt 10 years ago. And we're stuck with a bunch of huge 18-foot panels that can't operate. So the program that we brought to you was procured through SPUR. SPUR is a JPA with 300 or 400 unified school districts in California community colleges. They put out a proposal to at least 30 different firms, and they got 7 responses. They went through the whole procurement process, analyzed everything. They're the experts. They do utilities. That's what, Kevin, you can jump in here. SPUR is an acronym for utilities, schools purchasing utilities. Kevin, are you there?
Yeah, hi, good evening.
What is your acronym? Actually, it's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Flanagan. I work for SPUR. So SPUR stands for School Project for Utility Rate Reduction. So as John said, we're a JPA. We aggregate the buying power of our very large membership, hundreds of K-12 and community college districts across the state. The REAP program, the program that you guys are looking to potentially leverage for this contract, has been used by nearly 70 different public agencies across the state, not just community college districts and school districts, but cities and counties and the state of California. It's a very tried and true procurement method, and we definitely stand behind our process and the contract that we negotiated on behalf of public agencies.
So anyway, it was procured. Forefront Power won the bid to provide these purchase power agreements to anyone interested through SPUR. So our recommendation is that we abandon this old system that has cost us nothing but money to try to keep it together. I mean, the $800,000 that we spent, we took out 1/4 of the field only so we could have the parts to keep the rest of the field generating power. So we spent $800,000. We got a little more output on the fixed panel system that went in. Plus we got 3 or 4 Connex boxes full of parts. So we could try to keep the other 100 panels looking all in the same direction. And it hasn't really worked out. So our recommendation is that comes out, more fixed panels go in, and we have a guaranteed rate for 20 years. Now, me as a homeowner, I'd like to have a guaranteed rate of 16.25, because I just don't think in the inflationary times we're in that utilities aren't going to go down. They're only going one way. And, I wish this was available to homeowners in this type of capacity, but that's why we're here. M&O doesn't have the expertise to work on those panels, so we have to contract it out. And they have to sift through all of our old parts to keep, because they don't make them anymore. The company went bankrupt 10 years ago, or whatever year that was. It was before I got here. So that's our recommendation.
So John, to be clear, this doesn't cost the college or the district anything, right? And they do
No.
all the building, the maintenance,
They own the system.
they own it.
Yeah.
And we just
They
pay,
maintain it
and we pay the locked-in rate.
for 20 years.
And that starts in.
We have options to purchase it, and that's part of that contract. This contract I spent a few $1,000s on our construction attorney to go through, and Kevin and Nate can tell you, we were nitpicking the contract. Sherman Wong, our construction attorney, had just negotiated the same contract with Cerritos College, and so he was looking after the college's interests. And so he approved that contract, and that's when we signed the first one for Lot Q. And then Nate knows how frustrated we've been with that field, and they said, hey, let's let's take care of that problem.
Maybe you could answer this. So when would the first phase go in? The way I read this, we're looking at 2026? And we're
No.
in 2023?
Well, at
that
the
right,
last
Nate?
meeting, we talked about the fact that we could get to this one. We're gonna have to time that parking lot one, because we can't shut down a parking lot in the spring or fall
Yeah, I got
semester.
you.
So we're gonna have to do that one in the summer.
Well, what year are we talking about? This said, I think, 2026.
That one might be 25. I don't know, Nate?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person tonight. We'd target Trustee Brady, I think, first would be the decommissioning of the existing CPV project. We can do that as soon as possible. And then we would, based on the wants and needs of parking lot Q, we'd want to just tailor that construction process to whatever the college needs. I think the 2026 date that you're referring to, we have to construct and energize the project by the spring of 2026 to make sure that we're retaining our NEM 2.0 grandfather. So that's essentially the backstop of the projects. We'd want to front load the entire construction or deconstruction and construction processes with both the ground mount and parking lot queue, with the decommissioning and removal of the existing CPV project, and then the construction of the ground mount out there, because that's not disruptive to day-to-day at the college, and then figure out exactly what works best with parking lot queue. And I know that there is also flea market there, so just making sure that we have that schedule nailed down. So I'd imagine that probably the ground mount would go in, sometime summer 24, and then we'd try to figure out how to phase in parking lot queue thereafter.
Nate, can you explain the investment tax credit? And I found out last night, is this part between the time we did phase one and this? Was this part of the Biden?
Yeah.
New Biden plan?
Yeah.
So that,
yeah.
But explain to the trustees how an ITC works.
Absolutely.
I understand you're bearing the risk, so you guys get the ITC. In talking to Marika last night, there are companies out there where the college keeps the ITC and the company doesn't, correct?
Yeah, so that's a really important distinction, Joe, and that was part of exactly Biden's passage of the Inflation Reduction Act last August. So last August, they said, the Fed came out with this new legislation that says, okay, we're going to call it, instead of investment tax credit, which is what Forefront Power as a tax-paying entity is taking advantage of, which is a baseline 30% coupon on all solar project-related costs. That comes in the form of, essentially, if you have a tax burden of $100, you get a 30% credit against that tax burden. What the Biden administration figured out was, or what they proposed and what they passed was this concept called direct pay. And direct pay is different from a tax credit, right? Because it's literally the Fed giving specific public agencies, the college would be eligible to capture the direct pay. Specific public agencies, literally a check in the mail after the project's been completed for those solar project related costs. The nuance with the direct pay is that it really depends on, because it's so new, one, no one's really done it yet at scale, and two, depending on how you finance the project, you're going to get a different tax credit. So the 30% coupon that Forefront Power gets in the form of a tax credit is actually scaled all the way down to 6% as a floor in the instance of a direct pay, and then it scales up to 15% if the college were to use non-tax exempt bonds. I'm sorry, tax exempt bonds. If the college were to use non-tax exempt bonds, then you would be able to potentially capture that 30% direct pay. but you'd still need to put up all of the money. The college would need to put up all of the money from an accounting perspective. You need to put up all the money, build the system, energize it, and then the Fed would then analyze how you finance the project and then dole out the relative coupon for the project costs based on the financing structure of the project. So it is a little bit of a moving target, but yes, that is new. Trustee Brady, that concept is called direct pay. It exists, and we're still kind of figuring it out. I think just to cap this kind of long-winded narrative off, is that if you buy the system out, the same problem and headache, I wouldn't expect that what happened in 2010 to ever happen again, because that was really new technology. They did it down at San Bernardino College too. It didn't work out, right? The company went bankrupt. But the fact that the college bought the system outright exposed them to the headache and liability of what happened to the system afterwards, right? And you couldn't have done anything to prevent that because you didn't know that the company was going to go bankrupt. But the difference with the PPA is that Forefront Power, we own that system. So, for example, and this was negotiated by Kevin and his team at Spur. Remember that 95% performance guarantee? Like that 95% performance guarantee doesn't exist in a cash sale. Wouldn't exist via direct pay. So that's really protecting the college from repeating the same sort of cash sale, headache and problems that they've had, that you all have had with the first iteration of this.
Nate, I hate to ask all these questions, but
Don't worry about it.
I'm not a rubber stamper, and the public, the nice thing is that we've got this video. The public needs to know why we're doing this. If somebody ever comes and said, well, I understood you got an investment tax credit, and we said, well, what was that? I had no idea until last night that this came in the last year from the Biden after we did phase one. Second thing, I want to approve your contract, but I can't approve two pieces of paper that are not together. Why don't we put both of them together? Be sure our banner on our, the paragraphs flow between those two pages. And maybe put a little reference on what those, the charts, you have two charts on one page. My fellow trustees are a lot smarter than I am. I couldn't figure that thing out. They did last month, I couldn't do it. And I still can't do it, and I don't know if somebody picking up that contract 4 years from now, if none of us are here, could figure that out. So maybe a little footnote on what that means and clean it up and then bring it back. I'd like to be able to approve it if the board wants to. If the board wants to approve this tonight in this particular, in the way that it is, I just can't vote for it because it's not one document. Make sense? Nothing personal.
I think the board could delegate that to the president, kind of get this over with.
John, does it make sense? You've got these two documents.
Well,
We're
no,
approving
that's-
something here and we approve something here, but
It doesn't make sense. You got a CEO that you've hired, you could make sure that he gets what you need, and we could move forward.
oh, absolutely, but
You
until
don't have to
but
delay
until
it till the
somebody,
next
but until
project,
somebody
the
brought
next
this to everybody's
board meeting.
attention tonight,
We don't have
we
to-
wouldn't have that discussion. Yeah, so.
Yeah, we don't have to go to the next board meeting.
No.
Is there any other discussion from any other board member? Is there a student advisory vote?
Well, there is.
Okay, then go for it.
All right, I have a couple of questions. Nate, can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right. So let's just go worst case scenario. Let's say that you install the system and like the last solar company, not to jinx you or anything, you guys are gone, bankrupt, out of business, 6 months after the system goes live. Now what?
Yeah, that's a great. Kevin's much better at
We call
answering this
Kevin.
question than I am because he's biased. But go ahead, Kevin. I'm
Yeah,
biased.
hey, this is Kevin from Spur. It's a good question. Recall that the asset belongs to Forefront Power. If they were to disappear and go bankrupt, the asset will still continue to generate electricity. And as long as it continues to generate electricity, it will benefit the district actually, because that electricity is flowing through your meter and It's interacting with Edison through their net metering program. But recall too that the Forefront Power has investors, and those investors, as in any bankruptcy process, would have a right and an interest in taking over that asset. Recall that they're investing funds into the construction of this asset, and the only way that they generate a return on that investment is to make sure that the system continues to produce. So imagine a scenario where Forefront disappears, they're out of the picture. Those investors are going to have step-in rights, and they do have step-in rights in the contract, and you want them to have step-in rights to take over the operations and maintenance of that project, because they want to see that system to continue to generate electricity, and you want to see that system continue to generate electricity. That's the great thing about the way that this contract is structured, is that once that project is finished and it's energized and it's sitting out there, it's really just a revenue generating machine for whoever owns it and operates it. So, you know, if Forefront's not in the picture, some other buyer is going to be very interested in operating and maintaining that system to make sure that it generates electricity for the college. And so, you know, you would be protected, I guess, is the short of it in that scenario.
So that's a for
And-
sure thing.
Sharon asked, I don't know if you could hear her, so that's a for sure thing, was her question.
Yeah, you know, so in the history of the solar industry, we've seen other companies go bankrupt. And you know, if the investors themselves behind Forefront, who have a contractual interest in this project, don't step in and take over the project would then be purchased by someone else. And again, it would be in their interest after they purchased it to make sure that the system continues to operate and generate electricity. I will tell you too, and nothing's guaranteed in life, of course, as we know, but one of the reasons why when we ran our competitive process, we selected Forefront Power is they had the best pricing, but they were also backed by a very large, massive conglomerate called Mitsui and Company. So Mitsui and Company, it's not necessarily like a household name, but they're a very large Japanese company that owns and operates companies all over the world. They have a giant balance sheet. They are A-rated, billions in assets. They are the sole owner of Forefront Power. And so the likelihood that Forefront Power goes bankrupt and doesn't have you know, access to cash and operating capital is very unlikely as long as Mitsui is their owner. And as of today, Mitsui is the sole owner of Forefront Power, and Forefront Power is you know, a leader in the solar energy space here in California and across the United States. So it's a good question, and it's an unlikely scenario. But even in that unlikely scenario, the college is still protected in that scenario.
Kevin, isn't Mitsui one of the top 7 companies in Japan?
You know, I'm not an expert on Japanese companies, but it wouldn't surprise me if they are in the top 7. Yeah, they're very, very large Japanese company.
They're similar, I think, to Mitsubishi. So I think that Trustee Wood's
Correct.
question about the bankruptcy, again, what you explained is not in this amendment. But your explanation makes total sense. Makes sense? It's not in this amendment. I like to see it all put together and have Dr. Walden take care of it and, you know, give us a copy in November just for, you know, reading purposes. But I think when the two, it makes sense what you said. Somebody's going to step in, or they have the rights to step in.
And let's just say that wasn't the answer. That was a good answer, but it's not the answer that I expected. So all the investors are flying home from the investors meeting. The plane goes down. Forefront's out of business. The investors are at the bottom of the ocean. They chose to fly
Just went
Malaysian
far.
Airlines. And there's nobody. We get the solar system. It's there. It's on our property. So we basically just get the solar system and we get to keep using it. Right? That's the answer I expected you to give on the first typo. But
Do we
Is that right? I
want to have
mean-
the burden of maintaining that system? No, we do
Well-
not.
well, no,
That
I'm
didn't
not-
work out for us the first time.
I'm not
Just
saying we
putting that
would
out
want the burden, but essentially, worst case scenario, we get the system for free, right? Worst case scenario for Forefront investors and everyone else, we end up with a free multi-million-dollar system. Best case, you know, everybody stays healthy and the plane makes it to the runway and they continue to maintain it. But my point is the way I view this is there's no risk to the college if in some crazy way, Forefront, the investors, everybody vanishes, we're out of pocket nothing here tonight. We have paid nothing to install it, but there it will be on our property generating power. If everyone disappears, we just basically inherited a free solar system, I mean, with the maintenance, but at least we didn't buy it and also get the maintenance. And so best case scenario, everything goes on and we have a flat rate, right? Are those the two parameters?
Yeah, you're very well protected, and that's again one of the great things about the PPA structure is that really all of the risk, not all of the risk, nothing's risk free, but really all of the performance risk here and risk in general is shifted to Forefront and really not on the district. You know, the really real risk here is that Edison's rates go down, right? That's
One can only hope.
There's a better chance I'll be president in January of 2025.
Mitsui is one of the largest in Japan and one of the largest corporate groups in the world.
Yes, I just Googled that also.
Established,
I was Googling.
founded 147 years ago.
There are 7 conglomerates in Japan. Mitsubishi's one of them, and Mitsui's one of them.
So they're big.
So I just want to continue a little bit for a minute, not to belabor this, but to bookend this, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I cannot even begin to fathom why this solar thing is so contested or why it draws so much attention and discussion from the board. I would prefer, honestly, to move forward with a vote tonight, take the vote and get this done and underway. I'm sure that Dr. Walden, we can vote on the addendum to the contract, which is very common in business to have addendums to contracts. And the addendum can be incorporated into the original contract, if I'm not mistaken. Nate, I see you saying yes.
Yes.
So once approved, this addendum would become a singular document with the original contract. Just to confirm, Kevin, it's really funny that you have a still picture, and every time I glance over you, I'm like, he's just still just sitting there with that same look on his face.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm a little tired, and I shifted over, and I'm like, why's that guy still got that same look on his face? What's so funny, Kevin? So we're out of pocket $0. We're locked in on a fixed rate for 20 years, 20 or 25?
20.
20 years. And the other question is how quickly, once the system goes live, how quickly do we start to realize the savings?
You should, the college hypothetically should start realizing the savings in the first month that you're invoiced, because once everything has been energized, then your energy load, most of it is now going to be flowing through these solar projects at a rate that's lower than energy that you would have otherwise gone out and procured from SCE for a rate that's more expensive.
Okay,
So
that
could be realized in the first
But
month.
Nate,
That was
I
a
think
long
it's-
it was a long answer to my question. So to shorten it and clarify it, the rate that we will be paying Forefront is right now today lower than the current SCE rate. We don't have to wait a year or 5 years until they raise the rates for your rate to become cheaper.
That's correct. That's reflected in the year one savings.
So immediately, we recognize the savings the second that system goes live.
Nate, John, I am totally confused. Did you say we're gonna be completed in construction next month? Or did you say when the parking lot? I'm confused.
No, we're gonna get the
They-
savings the month that it's
Right, he was
energized.
like hypothetically, once it
I
goes
understand where
live.
trustee Wood's going. I just want people to understand that. Are we talking about it's gonna be complete in October, or are we talking about sometime in 25?
No, he was saying that within 1 month of the system going
I
live.
totally understand. I mean.
Okay, all right.
Right, and he also said that because parking lot Q requires the parking lot to be shut down, they would maybe shimmy that to the back and put this unused area that doesn't affect student outcome in any way, shape, or form to the front of the.
I think
they
we
would
all
flip-flop
understand.
them. Right.
So,
Okay.
Trustee Woods, on Saturday, we had the solar guys over, ready to sign a contract, and I said, so talk about kilowatt rates for residential. And I was shocked when he told me what it costs to cook and what it costs to do this, because I don't see those bills. And when we got talking about this, he said, hey, that's a screaming deal. That's not what the issue is, okay? The issue is, we fought 2 years ago because we didn't know what our utility bills were out here. And John wrote a nice memo to Dr. Dan and said,
It wasn't
we don't.
utility bills they didn't know.
No, it was our
It was
electric.
solar savings is what you wanted.
Right.
Be
But
very clear.
Trustee Tarpley, the college finally hired an energy consultant, which what I was arguing for, because
Which
if you
is the
don't know
same
what you
person
don't
that you
know.
talked to on Friday,
What's that?
right? Marika is who you're talking about, the energy consultant? Is
Yeah.
that who you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
but the college hired her, I didn't hire her. What
I
I kept
understand that.
advocating for is if you don't know what it's costing you, how can you make an educated decision? And I think that tonight's, I think Trustee Wood, I hate to answer questions, I'm not a rubber stamp guy. If it took 20 minutes more for the public to understand my concerns, then so be it. I'm happy where we're at.
I think we have our bookends, Nate or Kevin or John or Dan. Is there any other bookends that I'm missing regarding best case, worst case, cost out
There
of
might
pocket
be
right
another
now?
buck.
Seriously.
There's
Right.
incentives out there now for battery storage, and we've started a discussion with Forefront that could even realize more savings, but I'm not sure we even want to go there.
All right. Well, that's
And-
not a conversation that we can have
No, it's
now,
not
right?
now, but
And that's the thing. The technology is always changing, and things are always getting better and more efficient,
I just think
smaller.
if you can control your costs, that's why we're here.
Right. And so my read on this is we have no dollars out of pocket today or ever, except for paying the bill. The second it goes live, we immediately start realizing a savings. We don't have to wait. They're on the hook for all the maintenance. We're off the hook for all the maintenance that we're spending now. So we're saving $88,000 off the top, plus the power savings immediately are a benefit to us when the switch goes to on, right? Worst case scenario, we inherit the system that we didn't pay for, but we get to use. Best case, it continues to be monitored by them. And to Joe's concern about the contract, Nate indicated that if we ratify tonight, that Dr. Walden and the company can incorporate the amendment by reference and make it into one complete document. We already have the first one. I'm ready to vote tonight, and I'm a yes vote.
Every amendment I've ever signed, they don't go back and rewrite the original contract. They just say this is an amendment like this one is.
Right.
Number one, to Energy
Staple it to the
Services
back.
Agreement, Solar, Victor Valley College. This amendment is entered into, and it tells you what it's amended to. It's amended to our original contract. So this modifies, we just signed one of these
Like a
with
dozen
Aleutian.
before.
No, we just signed one with Aleutian. They didn't go back and rewrite the original contract. They just say this, what's in this amendment adds to or supersedes anything that's in, and it references where the changes are, so.
Dr. Walden, let me be really clear. None of us have a problem approving a contract. I have a problem approving a contract that talks about another document. I don't have it in front of me. That's where I had the problem. The other contract was already signed, sealed, delivered. That's where my issue was. So I'm glad you do it that way. In real estate, we don't do it that way. We have, there might be exhibits and addendums, but there's usually one contract to look at so that if there's an issue, when it said here, section 5 is hereby deleted to be, I'm going, okay, where's section 5? Well, how can I in good conscience approve a document where I don't have the original section 5?
So on
Well, it's actually there.
13-1,
It's
when it
attached
was
to
an
your
amendment
document.
to the Lucian SAS, did you read both? Did you ask for both?
No, I just read this one tonight.
So it's just this one that you want to be?
No, this
Have access.
particular one was what I was interested in.
Okay.
Well, to be clear, the contract, the original contract and the amendment are all in the agenda. They're all there together. I just lost my thing.
Should we just take a vote and see where the chips fall? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
think
good,
we're
I'm
gonna
good
have-
Let's just take a
discussing.
vote on it.
The motion's on the floor, I'm good,
I
I'm
mean,
good.
it's-
Student advisory
made the
vote
motion.
is yes.
Yeah, I mean, really,
I know,
it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
it's a no-brainer, really.
And the student advisory vote is yes, just so.
So I voted yes. It's not a big deal, just I want to be sure we had it on the record.
Yeah, I'm down. I don't know what happened.
You're
You're
down
out
by
of your
law.
area.
Are you down with the sickness?
I lost my.
Are you gonna get up, get down? Art must be tired, man. I figured the get up, get down would've got him.
He's saving it
Okay.
for the disco Christmas party.
He's gonna jump around.
Mitsu company's been
A
around
jump
for
around.
ages.
Longer than we've
There
been
we
here.
go, thank you, from the back of the room, thank you.
Thanks, Nate, Kevin,
What was the outcome?
5-0.
5-0.
5-0 for no.
Nate does not
you,
think you're
trustees.
funny.
Thank you, everyone.
Neither does Kevin.
Nate's all, hey, you guys.
Good night.
Night.
Sorry,
Aye.
Nate, this was so tough.
You did your diligence.
That's what I do.
Ask the prying
course.
questions.
I was
Thank you very
elected
much.
to do that.
We're like Walter Cronkite,
Thank you.
but you gotta be Barbara Walters, Joe. I picked Walter Cronkite.
Okay, so you're down. to-
13.5, right?
Yes, the budget,
Are you
final
up?
budget.
13.5, public
Second.
hearing and
No,
adoption
no,
of,
you need
Motion,
to-
Brady.
No motion is second yet.
what?
Open a public hearing
Yeah.
for the budget.
Public hearing and adoption of 23-24 final budget. Okay, I'm gonna open it for
Comment?
public hearing.
Yep.
Anybody?
Nobody.
Nobody? I'll close it. Okay, let's,
Now motion second.
what?
Do you want to take the ones? You
Need a
have Brady
motion,
and
a second.
Wood was the second.
Need a second?
Yeah.
We had it.
Second?
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
John, while they're voting on this, can you just explain this whole next group of just why we're doing this fund renaming? What's going on with this, with all these different funds?
So some of our fund structure is not compliant with the budget and accounting manual as published by the California State Chancellor's Office. So
I can and I will.
we're renaming funds and creating new funds. So that's pretty much what we're doing in all these funds. We're creating a new bookstore fund. The bookstore's been operated outside of our regular books. We're bringing it in, it's coming to fiscal services. Same way with ASB. It's been kind of off the books. It's been audited, but it's not running through the county office. So we've got a ASB fund that we're creating. We just created the cafeteria fund, which is what the Rams Cafe operates in. And then we're just trying to come into compliance with the budget and accounting manual.
That's what all those are. I don't know if you want to.
I would suggest we do them all together.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, second.
Yeah, let's do them all together.
Motion to combine 13.6, 13.7, 13.8, 13.9, 13.10, 13.11, and 13.12.
Yeah.
Correct.
There we go. All right,
Second.
second?
Second, yeah, I seconded.
Wood, second?
Student advisories, yes.
Okay, I'm gonna open online voting for this first one, and then I'll make all the others figure. Are you
Okay.
referring
Yep.
today to all of them?
Yep.
Yeah, we're putting them all together.
It's a secret. We can't tell you.
Is
how
your
we're
name
voting.
Victoria?
We have time for,
Okay.
not a break, but a quick run to the.
Technology break?
So I don't have to.
What do you gotta do?
A quick run.
Run.
Man about a horse.
While she fixes all this in the
Yeah.
board document.
I like Sonny in the back to stand up so we can all applaud the great job you did. You know, I think the LA Rams and the Chargers and the Dodgers and the Lakers should hire you
Oh,
to
yes.
do that
And I'll
at every
negotiate
single
it.
game. That was like one of the best renditions I have ever seen.
Absolutely. It was
It
I'm
was
not smart enough to know how to
gorgeous.
post that, so I'm gonna ask Robert. Robert, if you could send that to me, and I'll have one of our great people post that on Facebook. That was really cool.
It was beautiful.
job.
I will tell you that out there in the crisp morning, everybody was just so quiet while she sang, and it just went across that lake. It felt like the whole world was singing this song or could hear it. And she was singing it with such passion and belief. It was you had to be there. You think it was good on video tonight, I'm telling you. I had to get up ungodly hour in the morning, but I was there, and I'm so glad I was there for that. Thank you, Sonny.
Okay, so we're done with,
No, she'll tell us when she's ready,
I was gonna
Dennis.
ask Sonny, are you looking for a record contract? I got friends in Hollywood that,
Really?
yeah.
Actually, yes.
Y'all want to know the funny
They
part
don't
of
do
this
records
story?
anymore.
The funny part of this story is, they were talking last week, and she said, I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this, but anyway, they said, well, Sonny said she would sing the anthem, so somebody said, well, can she sing? They said, well, I don't know. So then a couple of other people were saying, well, we should go at least find out if she can sing.
Oh.
So they went and had her try out or something. I wasn't there for that. But they said, okay, she can sing. So I can't believe anybody even questioned it.
Right.
They should have been able to tell by looking.
How could they not after the karaoke party in Big Bear? That's the new audition for next year.
13.
You ready?
Are you ready or no?
No.
The only one that matters.
13. 23-24, recalibration, recalculation of annual GAN apportionment limits.
Motion.
Second.
So just to point out, this is the one we're correcting, so it's not this dollar amount. It's the one that I stated earlier when we took the correction. 100,676,700.
That was fast, Dan. Slow down for her.
729.
Student advisory.
Yes.
She was gonna say no.
There it is.
For some of us.
Okay. 14-1, non-classified short-term employees. Motion.
Second.
All in favor, any
Yes.
Student is took for
student,
Yes.
I know, just a minute. Okay. Fourteen point two, new management job classification and salary placement for student success materials manager.
Motion.
Second. Go ahead. It was Brady and Pinkerton. You're welcome.
Okay. Any discussion? Student trustee?
Yes.
Fourteen point three, CSEA collective bargaining agreement.
Motion?
No, it's
Sorry, no.
14.3 is new classified salary schedule.
Yeah, new CSEA collective bargaining agreement,
Agreement, closing, reopening.
closing reopeners. Okay.
Motion.
Second?
Student trustee?
Yes. Did we do the student advisor, or did Shannon? Okay. Maybe we could do it verbally.
Fourteen point four, new classified salary schedule and job descriptions.
Motion?
Second?
Any discussion? Student trustee?
Yes.
Yay.
This is the one you said to vote no on, right?
Here.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, it was a little more fun.
14.5, classified
Spicy, you know.
employees, classification and
It's only one.
compensation
It's only
salary
one person.
reclassification
Motion.
and placements. Any discussion? Student trustee?
Yes.
Fifteen point one, Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
It won't, it's student.
The grant received.
Here come those retro checks. October 1st.
Just give it directly to
Okay,
him.
do I have a
He's the
motion?
only one that said that.
You gotta worry when they say the check's in the mail. I'll just come pick it up.
Motion,
Motion.
second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Student trustee?
Yes.
First read Board Policy 17.1. First
I can make
read,
a suggestion, and we put them all together.
yeah.
Well, there's
We
no
don't
vote
vote.
here.
This is,
Yeah, we
this
don't
is
vote.
just
This is
the
just, if
first
you want to
read.
discuss them.
So Michelle
This is just for reading.
Thank you so much.
Michelle emailed these out also.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Michelle emailed these out, I think maybe about last Wednesday. Ish, so we did all receive them via email, and I would just indicate for the record that I did read them all about a day after you emailed them out. Thank you for emailing them ahead of time.
For the record.
So
For the
first
record.
read.
There'll be a
Well,
test on that next
It's a
month.
first read, so you're
Yeah, we don't
supposed to
vote on
kind of read them.
Yeah.
Ready for adjournment?
Motion to
Adjournment.
adjourn.
The end.
The end.
Second?
8:23, guys.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Scooted right along.
Yes.
Okay.
I did. You got the credit card? I got it.